to What's Your Story, episode 11. I am Leilani, your host, and this is just a space where we get to journey with others through their story so that we can be inspired to know, own, and share our stories. So if this is your first or second time, come on in. If you're part of the community, you know what to do. Jump in. Let me know you're here. I want to shout you out. I want to see you. So drop your hellos, drop your highs. And as always, you know, I start every show with the same reminder because it is that important to me. This is one of the most affirming communities that I've ever been a part of, and it really is a privilege to get to journey each Sunday with you guys. But more importantly, it's so exciting to get to have conversations with you all during the week and to connect and just see how you're being impacted. So the chat is a judgment-free zone. It is a space for empowering, encouraging one another, and journeying together, laughing, just being here to join in on one another's journey. Evie, hey girl, good to see you. Come on in. Let me know where you're watching from if it's your first time. If not, go ahead and drop that hello. A couple of things I want to remind you of before we jump in. I want you to have some emojis ready. There's a couple of emojis that we are, those who are faithful to What's Your Story and the community know these emojis. And that's your party hat emoji. That's your hand clap emoji. And any other emoji you want to throw in there, that's fine. But those two are a must. Hey, Marcy, good to see you. Ryan, you did not beat Evie tonight. I don't know that Evie is hard to beat, so you're gonna have to bring it next time. But guys, there is something that I want to let you guys know about in lieu of next week. It is Mother's Day weekend, and I am so excited, to just experience Mother's Day. But as a result of that, I want to let you know that we will be doing a What's Your Story, but it will not be live. So we will be having a What's Your Story episode, but it will not be live. So it's going to be a similar format. It will be pre-recorded. It will premiere on Facebook and YouTube just the same as you are used to. And we'll be able to chat and engage. I plan to be in the comments, connecting with my community. However, it will not be a live recording, but I'm excited to have you come. We're going to be connecting with Kayla Sanchez from Cozy Sila. She has an amazing story of motherhood and journey with her daughter, and I can't wait for you guys to be inspired through her journey, her difficult journey, but ultimately what she has turned into an amazing international, really, business, all inspired by her daughter's health journey. And so I'm excited to have you guys here next week, but I just want to remind you, it will not be live. It is going to be pre-recorded. And so I'm excited and expecting that you're going to be here with me. So as always, we had a couple more people come in. Hey, Pam, Adrian is supporting my hubby. He's my number one supporter, driving to Walmart to pick up groceries. Yes, I was on the pickup line. I was 5 minutes before. I'm calling Walmart. Like, I don't think I'm going to make it. I forgot to set a time where I could actually be there. But he is superheroing it tonight and driving there with all three kids. But anyway, I digress. Tonight, we usually start with What's Your Story Highlight. And for those of you who don't know, it's an opportunity for us to celebrate you and how you are being inspired to know, own, and share your story. And so we're going to jump right in with tonight's highlight coming from Chantal Lamore, one of our community members here at What's Your Story. And she says this: I resonated with Leslie's story so much because of my current phase of life. As I've recently started a business, imposter syndrome repeatedly strikes hard. I've given God every reason why I'm not, insert every possible adjective here, enough to do what I feel like He's impressed upon my heart to do. But listening to Leslie, one saying replayed in my mind the entire time: God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Like his analogy, I've been a car stuck in park, yet asking God to steer me in the right direction because I've sat month after month in analysis paralysis, convinced I was waiting on God, asking Him to show me the next step, but not really wanting to take that step to move forward and trusting Him to direct my path. I'd been asking to see the whole staircase before taking each step, leap in faith. In this last week, I've felt challenged to pray the often difficult prayer of surrender and go deeper with God while moving forward with brave, spirit-led action. I've even received feedback from a client this past week that felt like God gently saying, see, none of this was a mistake. Keep going. Leslie's reminder that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord was so timely. Listen, I don't know about you, but I need us to get those party hats and just celebrate Chantal. Chantal, I just want to say, girl, good for you. I have been privileged to seeing you grow. It's so funny. A few months ago, we were just having a conversation as I started my own journey here with What's Your Story, and just to see how much she's grown and how she was impacted by Leslie's story is just amazing. It is amazing how if we literally just take a step forward into what God is asking us to do, we will see doors open, but we have to be willing to take that step. Yes, Chantal, you're getting all the love here. Imposter syndrome is real and the devil is a liar. He is a liar and imposter syndrome is a lie, but we have to be willing to challenge those thoughts. So yes, so let's continue to have those celebrations come in. But as always, we want to jump into our Did You Know moment. And tonight, it's directly connected to our highlight. Did you know that overthinking has damaging effects other than just feeling stuck? It has damaging effects other than just feeling stuck. Psychological research has actually shown that there is a link between overthinking and experiencing depression and anxiety. Now, you're probably thinking what I was thinking. Okay, but how am I supposed to reflect on my story, which is something I've encouraged you guys to do? Or, how do I solve this problem without overthinking? Or how do I get unstuck from a part of my story, which happens to us when we're in that space of wanting to know, own, and share it? I want to let you guys know that overthinking is different than problem solving or reflecting. Okay? Reflection is an intentional practice where you're looking for meaning. Problem solving is an intentional practice where you're looking for a solution. Overthinking is just simply getting stuck on the problem or a part of your story or on an event or on an experience and not being able to get off of a hamster wheel. You are literally in the hamster wheel and you're running in circles and going nowhere. That is what overthinking is. It is a waste of time. It is, and it has actual implications for our mental health. Now, what does that have to do with knowing, owning, and sharing your story? Now, if you remember, I've talked about this before. Your story has significant value to identifying meaning, navigating life decisions, and ultimately giving you a blueprint for God's purpose over your life. However, if you become fixated or overthink a particular part of your story, then chances are you have never explored the lessons that are there and that you've experienced as a result of that part of your story. You probably haven't experienced much growth or are able to acknowledge that growth. And there's a good chance that healing has not happened. Therefore, your story is not serving you, it's hurting you. And a lot of us don't use our stories to help us, when in reality, they're there to guide us, to give us meaning and purpose. And God, if we were to stop and reflect, right? If we were to stop and do that intentional process instead of overthinking or getting stuck, we would see how much goodness and where God was all throughout our stories. Now, the other thing that overthinking is actually doing, it's keeping you from taking the steps forward whatever chapter of your story is next. So it's keeping you from actually taking steps toward whatever your next chapter is. The thing is that we end up getting stuck. Whether the next chapter of your life is you want to start another business, or you want to start a blog, or you want to shift jobs, or you've been feeling inspired to share your story or to sit with your story, but you keep sitting in that space, overthinking is keeping you from moving towards the next chapter in your life. And because knowing, owning, and sharing your story is about living on purpose, and the reality is that recognizing what you want and what the purpose of your life God has already given to you through your story. So if we spend all our time overthinking, we're going to leave little room for God to pour into us, to show us, and to reveal to us what that purpose is. And we also, by overthinking, leave little room for others to help us along the journey, because if we're full, then we don't have space for anything else. So before we transition, yes, Gladi, wow, our story is hurting us because we are stuck. Thanks, Derek. Yes, Chantel, keep being a superhero. Absolutely. So what do we do about overthinking? If you are thinking about whether you're an overthinker, you're probably an overthinker. So here's some things that can help you if you've been stuck on a part of your journey or a part of your story. First things first, you're always going to hear me say this. Question your own thoughts. Never allow your thoughts to just exist in your head without being challenged. You want to ask yourself, is there another possible perspective or reason for why I'm stuck on this event or this part of my story or this problem? For instance, if you had an embarrassing moment, you might just be sitting there thinking that everybody thinks, that you were silly or dumb or you did something foolish. But in reality, if we stop and challenge that, we may actually recognize that most people didn't notice, or most people are not thinking about it anymore. Perspective matters. The second thing is, listen, act, start, and do. Overthinking is not creating a solution. It only is going to keep you stuck. So to get yourself out of that, you have to actually think about a solution. So what's one thing you can do? What's one thing that you learned? What can I do differently next time? And that the key is to actually do it. The key is to actually move. And the last thing you can do to help you get unstuck from overthinking or paralysis analysis is to focus on the present. A lot of us spend a lot of our time thinking about our past and thinking about our future. And a lot of us miss what's right in front of us. So if you're stuck on a painful memory or a thought or part of your story or worrying about what to do, stop. Literally stop. And take in your surroundings. What are you grateful for right now? What do you see? What do you hear? What are you experiencing in this moment? And those are some of the ways that we can avoid from letting overthinking have damaging effects over our lives. Kaitana says, do you really? Oh, won't lie. Adrian says, I can be an overthinker. Listen, I am an overthinker, and it's something that I am intentionally and purposefully working through. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get ready for our guests for tonight who are sharing their story, Charles and Noemi. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
It's so good to see you guys. Hey, guys, in the chat, if you're watching, I want you to go ahead and show them some love. We're still getting some overthinking. Yes. Ooh, mercy. Secret to getting ahead is to get started, period. Yes, even if you don't know what you're doing or how to do it, get started. So, Noemi and Charles, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and we'll go from there.
First of all, we're just really honored that you even thought to have us. We have followed your sojourn, really taking the chance, and so we commend you and really excited to be a part to share. Truly humbled to be with you today. So excited. But a little bit about us. So I am a native of Fort Wayne, Indiana. I was born in Fort Wayne, Indiana, but grew up in Philly. I work in admissions for University of Miami, and am happily married to my love. You want to tell me?
Yeah.
You better say that.
He's happily.
Yeah, so born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago.
Hey.
Shout out to Oswego.
Oh my gosh. Is there like a nickname for Oswego?
Oswego.
No, there's no nickname other than Oswego. So from here, born and raised. Family's all here.
Nice.
I'm a teacher, and
Fun time.
I am currently 9 months pregnant.
Hey!
Yeah.
We literally, guys, we literally prayed that she does not go into labor during this process because we want to hear their story.
So we can get up. That's probably
yeah. You'll see my eyebrows go up like, is she okay? Ryan Hauserman wants to know Miami of Ohio or Miami of Florida?
That is a fair point. First of all, Miami of Ohio, Ryan, is not a thing. Let's be clear. The University of Miami in Florida. No, I shout out to Oxford. I have a lot of love for Oxford. It's Oxford, Ohio. It's not, you know what I mean? But University of Miami of Florida. I just work virtually here in Chicago. I do want to give a shout out to my wife because I can do this on a public forum that she's also in grad school. She was teaching and pregnant. So I want to give a big ups.
Listen, that's like a shots fired big up. You know, like, all right, I see you, girl. You doing it. Oh my gosh, how far into your program are you?
I am finishing up my second year. Going into my third year, yes. Third and final year.
Man, that's exciting. That's exciting. Adrian wants us to keep the camera rolling. It'll make for a great story. How about no?
It would make an awesome story. Viral. It would make you go viral for sure.
Right? Lady gives birth right on a live podcast. That would be
podcast with them, right? Like we're just taking the laptop around.
That would not. Let's just not do that. All right. So guys, Charles and Noemi, tell us, what's your story?
Yeah, so I met Charles August of 2012. It was my first weekend at Southern Adventist University. And I guess I should add that I was there. I transferred over as a non-Adventist student. So I was a transfer. So everything and everyone was new to me outside of my roommates, of course. So it was my first Sabbath there. And one of my roommates had invited Charles and his good friend for potluck. And that's where we were introduced. That's where he introduced himself as Chuck. That's what they would call him in college.
Adrian still calls me that. So.
He was trying to be cool. You're trying to be like, hey, I'm Chuck. You know what I'm saying?
So that was our first interaction. But truthfully, nothing came about that day. It was like I knew I was new. So I was expected to like meet a lot of new people. But it wasn't until a couple days after that we ran into each other again. But this time it was at the boys' dorm, and at the time he worked at the boys' dorm. And we were there to help my roommate's cousin move in. And that's where he approached me and he was asking me like, oh, how was your day? How are you enjoying Southern? You know, he was trying to be a little flirt.
He does not deny.
Yeah. So truthfully, that's when I was like, oh, he's cute. He's a little cute. And so fast forward about a week or two after that, he was given my number by one of my roommates because I think I had asked for help on something and they thought that Charles would be a great person to help. And so that's how our communication began. It was through texting. But that's how it started.
Yeah, and we honestly texted a lot. It was like silly challenges with one another, really just building a friendship. So this was, like she said, August, and we were like, I feel like we were up by December, we were talking like every day. And I remember specifically in December was the first time over break that we talked on the phone. And so there was definitely something building there, but I can admit that I was very hesitant for a lot of reasons. I think one, I had just the past year before gotten out of a relationship, and freedom was very sweet from that. Yes, Lord. So then moving forward, I was really trying to just focus on being the best person that I could be at that time. And my main prayer at that time literally was the person that I got into a relationship with that it would be a friendship, a genuine friendship that we had. I made this quote that people still make fun of me to this day, but basically saying that if she was a guy, if I would still hang out with her. I ended up including that in my vows. Probably wasn't a good romantic thing, but either way, I still hold that to be true, which is that I wanted to have a homie. I wanted someone that I knew I could talk about everything with.
Right.
And so we fast forward up until Valentine's Day of 2013. So this is the same school year. And my friends are now giving me pressure like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you clearly like this girl. You're clearly talking all the time, but you haven't shared anything at all. Like, you haven't given any inkling of like making any moves, where your thought process, nothing. To that point, I was literally just texting as if we were friends. In my mind, we were just friends. And so anyway, I had this bright idea that on Valentine's Day of that year that it was literally spontaneous. I texted her and said, hey, would you like to go get something to eat or something like that? And so I, being a broke boy at the time, had to borrow my cousin's car. And
That's
so
real.
Exactly. So I asked her I think I asked you, like, where would you like to eat or something like that? And she said, no preference. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to take her to Red Robin, my personal favorite restaurant. At least I'll be comfortable in this, whatever happens in this conversation. And so I pick her up and take her to Red Robin, where in my mind, I'm going to have, I don't know what I thought, but I really thought that I was going to share with her, like, my heart, like where I was and why I hadn't made any moves. So.
And in my mindset, I'm like, he's going to ask me out.
Valentine's Day. So I go and we have a great meal, or at least I thought it was a great meal. Again, my favorite restaurant. And then we get to like the end, and I still do this thing to this day. I don't know why I do this, but whenever I'm about to say something important, at least in our relationship, I'll like move the plates. It's almost like a symbolic, like, to the real.
Like, it's about to get real.
Exactly. So I move the plates to the side, and I like lean my hands forward. And I basically just pour out my heart. I say, like, look, I don't want to be, there are two things. One, I want to make sure that we're friends. I don't think I ever say explicitly that I like you, but I definitely convey that I'm interested in this going somewhere, but I want to make sure that we have a firm foundation. And the second thing is, I knew that she was, based upon all of our conversations, sort of figuring out her own faith walk. And I'll be honest, being the conservative Christian that I was at the time, I was also contemplating seriously, like, oh, can I do this? Can I be with someone who is not an Adventist? So that was like a constant conversation. And so I think how I said it was, I don't want to be the reason or the stumbling block for you in terms of your faith, especially at this crucial moment. You're at a school that you've never been to. You're in an environment, truthfully, that you've never been in. And so I don't want to be the reason that either it doesn't go the way that it should, or that however it's supposed to play. I just don't want to be a stumbling block for that.
Sure.
So I kind of share that, and then I don't know.
Yeah. So he shared that. I totally understood, and we walked out chipper. Friendship will continue. I think I did tell him that night, if nothing ever happens, I mean, I gained a friend. I mean, he was truthfully at that time, like, we were talking every single day. So like, if something good would happen, I would text him. If something bad would happen, I would text him. So I'm like, I gained a good friend.
Did you mean that?
I was about to ask, did you, like, how did you feel about this whole process, right? Because a lot of women would probably struggle in that scenario if they had feelings towards the other person.
No. So truthfully, I walked out. Okay, I was fine. I was totally fine. I was like, I get it. I should probably view it that way too. I shouldn't rush into anything. So fast forward, it was May?
It's May, at the end of the school year.
The end of the school year. We're still communicating just as much. Feelings are probably a little stronger by that time. And he came over and we were outside talking. It was late at night. And at that point, it's when I was like, what's going on here? Like, at this point, I'm confused, because there are days where I'm like, you do like me. And then there were days where I was just confused. I'm like, you don't like me at all. And so that night I said, oh, we should play the question game. And so
What a ghost.
ladies, take some notes.
What a ghost.
Take some notes, ladies, in the chat.
So, because one of my questions was going to be, you know, where do you see this going? So anywho, we're asking each other questions, and I'm getting a little nervous because I have to ask this big question. But before I even get to ask it, he then asks me, he said, do you think you'll ever convert? And that's when I knew I had to end it. I wasn't offended by the question. I think I was more so bothered, because I think that's when it hit me, where I really thought, like, nothing is going to happen if I'm not an Adventist in his eyes, and that I couldn't have. I couldn't jump into a religion for somebody.
That's a good.
If that makes sense. Like, it had to be for my own self doing this, and so. Right after he asked me that, I didn't even answer. I think I said, you know, do you ever think that we should just like take a break? And he had already been thinking about that, and I just didn't know. And he said, yes, actually.
Yeah. So on my end, the week up to that, I had actually been praying. I felt very strongly that we were at like a crossroads where I knew that I had those thoughts and I hadn't been able to reconcile them. And the only way forward, at least to be fair to her, was to have some separation. And so I was praying about it, struggling that whole week. And I was literally like, God, I know that I can't bring this up on my own. And so in order for this to happen, it would have to be an organic, I don't know, it would have to be a conversation that's brought up. And so I prompted it by asking that question, but I didn't know that that would obviously prompt in her mind where she went with the conversation. And so when she said, you know, have you thought about having a break? And I was like, honestly, yes, I have. I just didn't know how to do it. And still didn't know how to do it because right after that, I said, well, I feel like we should have a break, but you know what? Let's do a trial. Let's do a trial period. Let's do a trial break. So let's go for 7 days from today.
Okay.
And I knew that I had to see her actually a week from today for an event that we both were going to be at. So I said, well, at that event, we'll come together. You know, we'll see how we pray. We'll pray about it, see how we came out, knowing in my mind that obviously it's going to be a break. But whatever. Fast forward, that whole week, I'm like,
this was a break from your friendship.
This was a break from our friendship.
So you're asking, like, hey, let's take a 7-day break from talking.
Right.
All interactions.
All interactions.
Okay.
Yeah. So
now, mind you,
yes,
we had gone like 9 months straight.
Like
talking every day.
That's hard. That's rough. Okay.
And then we went a week without talking.
That's like withdrawal.
Yeah. So I was like, so I was that week. I mean, I don't know what it was for you, but it was extremely agonizing for me because I already knew it wasn't so much. It was more so delaying the inevitable of like, this is going to have to be a longer break, but we're like doing this trial. And so I was honestly praying, like reading my word. Like I was really heavy trying to like ask God, like, I need you to let me not do this, basically. And so I came across this. It just so happened that week, my devotion was around Isaac. It was about specifically Abraham sacrificing Isaac. And the exact quote was that if it means that much to you and is truly a promise, at all times you have to be willing to give it back to me. Right? That was like literally what and so I was like, man, like that thing really, really hit me hard. But then the second piece is I found this scripture and I can't even explain like how I found it. It was just one of those like, go here. I don't know if this is going to be a super like Adventist thing, but Ecclesiastes 3, there's a time and a place for everything under the heaven. I had to memorize that. I remember in like, there's a lot of, I think, Sabbath schools related to that verse, but I had never read below that. And there's a scripture right below that kind of sequence. It's Ecclesiastes 3:11 that I happened upon that week. And it says, the Lord makes everything beautiful in its time. And that was like the catalyst, like, okay, I have to do this. So I knew, so I wrote this long letter, kind of literally, it was pages, we still have it, pages and pages, kind of explaining all of this. And we met up This time, again, since I'm a broke boy, she took me, she picked me up and took me to
So
Starbucks.
we went to Starbucks.
We went to Starbucks after the event that we had met up at. And yeah, right outside the front of this Starbucks. And I basically read, did I read the letter? No, I didn't read it. I just spoke. I just spoke.
Before you go there, Noemi, tell me what your experience that week was.
So that week, it's going to sound weird, but it felt right. It felt okay to do this. And during that time, truthfully, like I was praying, I was reading, I was learning, and how can I say, it didn't feel like it was going to end. It just felt like this is what we needed to do. And so when we were going through that, of course, in my mind, I'm like, what is he thinking? I won't be mad if he calls me. You know?
Checking your phone, like,
yeah, if I ran into him.
Right.
But yeah, it felt okay. It felt fine. Yeah. So we were at Starbucks, and he then asked me, how did you feel? How do you feel? How do you see this going forward? And truthfully, in the moment, I can't remember, but I think I said, I can see this, like, I can see why this is needed and why this was needed. And then you then went into how you felt.
I did. Did I cry? I thought I cried.
No, he didn't cry.
Oh, I thought I cried. Anyway, I think maybe revisionist history. So let me put some tears in this story.
Let's not talk about tears and men, because my husband is here, so we gonna leave that. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I know exactly. I think I just explained, and it really wasn't an awkward thing. And I said I have this letter that is more detailed to kind of explain my heart and kind of give you some ideas. Because I didn't say to her in that moment the Ecclesiastes 3:11.
Sure.
So, so we ended up saying that we agreed to not talk. We knew that we were going to work at the same summer camp that summer.
Okay.
So it would have been like 6 or 7 weeks from that day that we would have been reunited. And we just agreed that we weren't going to have any communication at all during that time, which is crazy because this is like a day, like, what is today, May 2nd? This is like around the time it happened. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So anyway, we went a good 6 weeks without speaking.
No communication.
Except
for my birthday, I just remembered. Because my birthday fell during that time, and you dropped off a gift for me.
I did drop off a gift. But after that, there was no communication. And then we arrived to summer camp, and we reunited.
I will say during that time, like, it was a very emotional time in general. And at the time I was on social media. And I remember I went on Twitter one day on a day that was particularly rough for me, like really, really rough, and like questioning. And it just so happened that she had tweeted Ecclesiastes 3:11. And I said, yes, Lord. I said, she's still in there.
So for you, it was confirmation that there was still something God was doing in the midst of.
My confirmation was that he liked my tweet like a minute after I tweeted.
So literally trying to see, like, okay.
I sent out a bird call real quick. But outside of that, we did not speak, though, truthfully, at all. But during that time, it was major, at least for me, I can say, it's actually when I decided to go to grad school during that period, and which completely changed my whole career.
Wow.
So there was a lot of things that personally happened, I know, and I know for you as well, during that time period. But then we arrived. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what was that time like for you guys?
There was a lot of thinking, a lot of overthinking, just really a lot of questioning, a lot of faith that it took, really, like, God, if this is really what you want, if this is really who you want me with, then I have to trust you, and you will make it beautiful in its time, right? Like, it will happen when you want it to happen.
Yeah.
Of course, there were days like as he mentioned, where it was rough. I wanted to text, I wanted to call my friend, and I felt like I couldn't. So there were some rough days, but it was also summertime. I was at home after being away for the first time in my life.
Wow.
So I was spending a lot of time with family and friends, so distracting myself. So yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So when we coming to the end of the 6 weeks, summer camp, shout out to Mountain, the summer camp, anybody, best camp honestly ever. And the way that it works for summer camp is they pick you up in vans, at least for our summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew inherently that it was a chance that we could end up in the same pickup, right? So I'm like, obviously the anxiety is high, thinking about, okay, am I going to meet her? How is she going to respond? Is she still feeling any feelings towards me? And I remember that I got to the van. Well, I guess maybe you want to tell from your standpoint.
So it was my first summer working at camp, so I had no idea how it worked. I just knew I was going to get picked up. And so I was picked up, and then the pastor was the one who was driving, and he said, oh, we just have to wait for 2 more. And I thought, oh, okay. And then it hit me, and I thought, oh, it would be crazy if one of them is Charles. And so I remember I looked over his shoulder to see his clipboard, and it said, Charles Kamek, and my heart dropped my toes. I was sick to my stomach. I was like, what are the chances that we would end up in the same car after like 7 weeks without speaking? So yeah, I was super nervous actually.
Yes, and you definitely acted nervous for the next couple of weeks. No. So I came in. Honestly, I came in, which this is honestly how I am in general. Anybody who knows me, like I just act like everything's normal. Even if I'm uncomfortable, I'm just gonna act like it's normal. So I came in and I saw some people I knew, dapped them up, of course. And then it was my brother. Me and my brother were working at the same camp. And so he sat in the seat, and I was like, oh, no, let me get that seat so I can sit next to her.
Right.
And I just started up the conversation. How was your summer? Like, how are you doing?
How long was this van ride? Because I want to know.
90 minutes.
Is it 90 minutes?
It is. It's 90 minutes from DWI.
That's a real long time to feel. Yeah.
So, I mean, after that, it was kind of, I think you were still a little trying to feel it out, because we didn't have a conversation until maybe 3 weeks into camp, maybe 2 weeks into camp, where we finally sat down and like talked about everything.
Well, mind you, he was not bringing up anything. He was literally acting like nothing happened.
Like y'all hadn't taken a 7-week hiatus from this intense friendship.
I'm like, we should go over here, talk a little bit. And yeah.
Yes. So we talked, and I don't even remember that talk, to be honest. But
anyway, he still didn't ask me out.
I did not.
Charles!
I did it.
Charles!
I did it. So the thing is, so we had a conversation on it. So we had a conversation. I can't remember what part of camp, but it was like almost 2 to 3 weeks before camp was over. And I was talking my head off about something. And finally, I think you were like, I need to tell you something.
Yeah. So by that time, I knew I wanted to get baptized. I knew this was the church for me. I knew God called me to Southern Adventist University without being Adventist. What? So I wanted to share that with him because truthfully, I had felt it being there at camp. It was like, it is your time, right? This is your time to get baptized here at camp. And so I remember he was being goofy that day, and I shared the news with him, and then he got really serious. And then I remember you were like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Yeah.
Okay, Lauren, I hear you. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yeah, so the thing is, she told me the news. What she didn't know was there were like 2 specific things that I had told God, like, I'm not going to make any moves. And it wasn't, at that point, it wasn't necessarily about being Adventist as much as it was about her solidifying something with her relationship with God. Because we had conversations about her faith for a while. And even one time where I was like trying to have Bible studies with her, which I never did that again. That was like the very first week that we met. I never did that again. Terrible idea. Don't do that. Anyway, so
that's how they be trying to get you though.
Yeah, don't do that. I want to
do the Bible study. Yeah.
Don't do that. You have a conflict of interest, a major conflict of interest. Okay. So I remember there were two things I was praying about. One, and I want to be very honest about this, is I have a strong Black family, and so I had reservations about dating a non-Black woman. And so I really was praying through that and talking like, okay, God, like how, I know there's nothing wrong with it, right? But just for my own peace of mind and my own identity, right? And wanting to maintain that, but also be able to champion the other as well. And so there were two things. One, I read this verse. I was preparing for camp because we had to do camp worships. And it literally said that people were making fun of Moses about his they didn't have the same race, right? Wife. And I was like, oh, and it was like God affirmed the fact that he chose Zipporah. And so that spoke to me. And then that very next day was when I had the conversation with Memes about her her sharing with me that she was planning to get baptized. And so again, you would think immediately as soon as she came out of the pool, I was on bended knee. I didn't ask her out still. I still waited. But yeah, she got baptized, and then I waited. It was another month or so or two, prayerfully, just wanting to make sure that it was right and not me. And I asked her on the day, a year from the day that we met, August 24th, let me get this right. August 24th, 2013. So when you start throwing out, I used to say in August, when you start throwing out exact dates, the pressure, you can just feel it just coming up. August 24th, 2013. When I asked you about.
That's when he finally asked me.
Speaking of patience, I just gotta say this real quick. I actually took it. So I used to visit this woman at a nursing home. Oh, I love this woman. I used to visit this woman at a nursing home from a class, and I took her with me, pre-asking out to spend time with. And when I spend time with people, again, I spend time. I do give my
good 3 hours.
It was a good. It wasn't 3 hours. It was about 2 hours. It was about 2 hours of us just sitting there. With
it was probably 3 because
you probably was.
We know.
So after that, I took her downtown, asked her out.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sake of time, fast forward, we have an amazing first year dating. Would you agree?
Yep.
Just making sure. We have an amazing first year. I gotta get a cosign. I gotta get a cosign on these things. I don't want to assume.
No pressure. You're on camera.
That's what I'm saying. So we have a great year. And then that 1 year, and then I graduate, and I actually go to grad school to Penn. So I go back to Philly, and she goes to Argentina. So this is when our long distance begins. Long distance. So we were long distance for
4 years.
Yes, 4 years. But this specific, would you say this was probably the toughest?
Yeah, the second,
that was our second year of dating.
Second year of dating, yeah. Was definitely the most challenging, I think, because it was so new to us. On top of that, I mean,
time difference.
I was in a different country.
Wi-Fi.
Yes.
He was so busy with grad school, and then I was busy living my best life.
Learning. Yeah.
No, but it was really tough. I truly think that's when we really were seeing like the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yes.
We were, getting to know each other on a deeper level, but trying to figure it out all through communication, because that's all we had. That's all we had. We couldn't just like go and just hug each other and just be like, okay, let's just drop it, right? No, there was no dropping anything, because we had to fix whatever we were going through.
I had the chronic, I couldn't let things go at that stage in my life. So I couldn't let things go. And I also realized that there were things, I was learning things about her that I was maybe uncomfortable with, but it was because of how I was raised. So, and because we had only, like you said, the communication, I just couldn't let things go. Truthfully, I just couldn't let things go. So I would bring them up.
He was very judgmental.
I was very judgmental.
Really making me feel like everything that I did as like a youth, as, you know, as a teenager or whatever, growing up in my, just living my life, what I thought was, at the time what I thought was right or whatever it was. He just saw the bad where it was, I think that was just his conservatism.
Sure.
Where he would just, you know, question a lot of things, and then he would then question if he really, well, what I felt was at that point he was questioning whether he really knew me.
Yeah, like almost, not that I felt that you had like defrauded me, but I did feel, I said, oh, wait a minute. No, I did question whether I knew all of her, especially because we had, I feel like I think I had held true to this, like, oh, I'm going to create this friendship, right? Not realizing, you can create a strong friendship, Charles, but there are layers to people, right? Like there's significant layers, and you don't even have permission to be a part of those layers until you invest more time. And so,
that's good.
Yeah, that was really what it was. And I think it took me a year to get out of my own head, my own foolishness. But by the end of the year, by the time she got back, I feel like we were in a much better place.
Yeah, we were good.
And then I feel like we got better. I mean, the only awkward thing about long distance after that was if any of the other persons, maybe people can relate to this who have been long distance, when the other person is less busy, that is when trouble comes. Like that's literally a guarantee. If that person doesn't have as much things on their plate at that time, it's like, what you doing? Where you at? It's like, whoa.
Why you ain't calling me back?
Yeah. It's like, I've been living the same life, like these basketball, you know.
Right.
So yeah, there were that little bumps in the road. And then fast forward to like year 3.5, really quickly.
Sure.
I'm having a mental breakdown, truthfully, where I feel like I'm compromising in areas. By this time, I'm living in Miami.
Okay.
And it is those of you who have been to it's just a tempting place. I'll just say it's a very tempting place. Mentally, I'm not there. And so ultimately, I go to visit her right before she's about to graduate. It's like a couple of months before she's about to graduate. And I know that I feel again that we need to take a break. Like, because I feel like, and the reason this time, yes, I know, the reason this time is because I feel like she's in a great place. She can say for herself, but I am not. And I was utilizing the relationship in a way to sustain the fact that I'm not okay. So it was almost like, it was almost an idol, truthfully, to help my mental whatever. And so we would bicker a lot and things were going on. And so I ultimately said, when I got there, I think we need to have a break, but I was, cold feet again. Woo. And then I said, no, we don't need a break. And then I got back home to Miami and I FaceTime her again. I was like, look, this is literally happening to me again. We need to have like some time. And so I told her, and she literally were on FaceTime. We would do this FaceTime devotional thing. And I explained it to her again. And I said it. And as soon as I got the words out, she was like, okay, cool. Boop. And that was it.
It wasn't that.
No, it was very quick. It's like, and I remember that sound still etched in my mind.
I think I was very bothered because he was saying that, he felt like he needed to do this. He felt like God was telling him to do this. And so in my mind, I thought, well, why isn't God telling me that? He told me the first time when I'm break, but God is not telling me any of this. And so I felt this kind of blindsided. So I may or may not have hung up right away.
Completely fair. Truthfully, completely fair. I was also frustrated. I'll be honest, just speaking from a guy's perspective. I had tried financially to propose on several occasions since I left grad school and things just fell apart. I mean, it was just random stuff. I had mad dental work that I had to do out of the blue. It was just a lot of stuff that my car ended up getting totaled. There was just a lot of things that literally stopped me from being able to propose. And so we did that break, and I can admit, and I have admitted, that was a very selfish on my part, especially because it fell over Thanksgiving. We didn't speak during Thanksgiving. I didn't reach out. That was really on me.
Woo.
And then I reached out maybe a day or two after Thanksgiving, and I kind of explained, I apologized profusely. And she stayed with me. Yeah, it was, I mean, yeah. So she stayed with me. And then from that moment forward, just fast forwarding, we were good, had our ups and downs. But come to the summer, I realized like, oh, God is giving me the green light that I can propose. Some things came together. I have this idea all around this Ecclesiastes 3:11. And when I say every door open, I was literally telling her today, every door that I wanted to go through, like for this proposal, just came through. Like from the photographer, who is one of my best friends, the day that I went to visit him, and we recorded it, was the only day. He ended up moving to Atlanta the very next, and I wouldn't have been able to like connect with him. That I went to the theater in Aurora that literally I would not be able to do ever again. Like, I don't even know how that even happened. And then just her family, coordinating all the family to come. And that was the day. Now, mind you, what I didn't, spoiler, what we didn't tell you this entire time is I have not said during these 4 years of long distance, 5 years of dating, I never said the words "I love you" to her.
So, okay, no, I mean, would you say "I love you" to him? Like, what's?
No, if he wasn't gonna say it, I was not gonna say it.
So, like, okay, all right, talk to you later, babe. You just hang up, like, you know what I mean? There's so many moments where it's like,
yeah, I didn't have any conversations.
Yeah, just like, okay, talk to you later. No, yeah. So he went the whole. Well, we didn't say "I love you" to each other. The one time where I really thought he would tell me was when I was leaving to Argentina. And when that didn't happen, I thought, okay, it's just not going to happen. But I know it sounds really crazy, even when we tell the story, but it like, I knew he loved me, and I knew he did through other ways, right? Through his actions, through through other ways that showed me that he did love me. And so oftentimes the word, like, I wouldn't even think about it at times, you know?
Oh my gosh. Listen, Charles.
Look, I'll say this. I will acknowledge the fact. So let me say
Oh my gosh.
a part of it was I didn't feel truthfully that I understood the weight of that word. Now, we were watching Married at First Sight. I know there's some probably Married at First Sight fans. Yeah. And in this season, there is a guy who literally has not said "I love you," right? And he's on the same way. I don't want to put myself in the same shoes as him, but
yeah, I know, because I watched the show. So
okay.
Yeah.
So watching him has allowed me to see myself. It's like an out of body experience, and the effect that I know that it had on her, and that's wrong, right? But my thought was, it means so much in the context of marriage for me personally, to say "I love you" and to display those qualities and to mean it and to back that up as almost like a covenant promise, right? Like, I love you. I am going to show or display, how my mentor used to say it, I'm going to display God to you. Like, that's a heavy word for me. And so I wanted to make sure that I was in a place spiritually, mentally, psychologically, all of those things, relationally, that I could mean that word fully and understand it. And so the way that I told her this when I proposed, the way that she loves me through all of this, the patience that she showed me, seeing me through all of that, really did help me see, like, truly what godly love to me is. And that's and so that was really the culmination of me proposing 1 year from that foolish break before, literally the day before Thanksgiving, and sort of telling her for the first time that I loved her, and that I had loved her the whole time, but I just couldn't.
So
yeah.
Now we're married. He says "I love you" every day.
I do.
So so we're gonna just jump into questions, because there's a couple, right?
Okay.
So the question was, was this idea of not saying "I love you" ever a topic that was part of the conversation? Like, Noemi, did you ever go, yo, why haven't you said "I love you"? Like, or Charles, did you ever say to her, like, hey, here's why I haven't said "I love you"? Like, tell us about that.
No. Did it?
I vaguely remember having one conversation, but it probably wasn't significant early on.
I don't remember I don't remember us having a conversation about it. I do remember that fourth year, I did find myself questioning a little bit, only because we were long distance already for a good 4 years. There was no proposal in sight. And on top of that, like, there was no affirmation, right? Like, I love you, I'm still in this. And so I think that's when I was questioning, like, at least tell me that you love me so I know. I don't know how to explain it. So I know that
it's real.
This is still something.
Right.
But I don't remember us ever having a conversation about it. I don't know.
Did they say anything? Your girlfriend say anything to you?
I wouldn't tell anyone. I didn't tell anyone about this.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it was literally the actions in a way. Well, the actions of the friendship, the foundation, probably helped establish some of that deep connection, and then just his actions overall. But listen, I'm gonna just say, Charles, you a lucky man. Okay, you listen. I think all the women in the chat can agree that you might have missed on it. Okay, you might have missed out on it a little bit. But we have so a follow-up to that was the love conversation ever brought up as a concern? So it doesn't sound like you guys talked about it as a concern.
No.
You just felt
I remember him once, he was being funny and he said something like, I'm in like with you, or something like that. And so
Charles,
that's when I knew. I was like, okay, that's you just trying to tell me you're in love with me, but okay, I'll take it.
Listen. You go have to. You know what we're gonna do is we're gonna put pressure on Charles to have to make up for all those 4 years. Okay, right after the show. There's a question coming in. It says, was the difference in culture, race, or race an issue for Noemi?
I didn't even think about it, truthfully. No. I didn't even know it was a thing for him until afterwards. But didn't cross my mind.
It didn't cross you? Not even from a family, nothing?
So, okay. When we started dating, he came to Chicago to spend time for my birthday, and I knew he was going to meet my family, and I was a little nervous for that, just because he was really the first Black man that I would have brought home. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I was nervous about that, but yeah. Anyway. But aside from that, no.
Sure.
For me.
And her family welcomed me with open arms. I do want to.
Sure.
Always, they always love, still do.
Yeah.
Yes. No. Let me see what we check out here, trying to get Noemi into as much trouble with the chat as he's in.
Hey, I'm just feeling a lot of heat over here, so I was like, man, let me know.
But here's what's beautiful about your story is that this process, right? This process of God wanting to be super intentional, and not just that, but he needed to prepare you both, right? It's almost like you both had a journey that you had to go on in order to be in a place where you could be good for one another, right? And God good, not just like, are we compatible? But like that godly union where it's like, no, I created you for you. And in order for you to be together, this is the experience you had to go through. And he knew you needed a Noemi to help you get there. And, Noemi, God knew you needed a Charles to help push you towards him, right? And have your own relationship with God, instead of what usually happens, right? Or can happen is you become dependent on that person for your spirituality with God. And that doesn't work, right? So when was the first time you guys ever shared this story? Like, have you guys shared the story publicly before? And, how was it sharing it for the first time?
sharing this story?
Publicly?
No.
Maybe not to this extent, no.
No.
Definitely not to this extent.
So how was, go talk about that.
I think we definitely had a good time when you first reached out. It was definitely nice to reminisce because we probably don't do it as often as we should. And just to I would say we are obviously, she's expecting. I don't want to say we. She is expecting. She's gonna have a child. I want to be clear. I'm not taking that. Anyway, so we are definitely in a season now where that scripture specifically comes up all the time. Just to really trusting God's timing, whether it be for the home that we want to create, our careers, and so. Telling the story brought back all of the emotions of the waiting. Like it was a lot of waiting. Probably more so waiting on her part than my part, but there was still a lot of waiting on both of our sides for God to really show up and really direct us on, what His will was. And like you said, I love how you said it, is that it can be a good thing, but not necessarily a God thing yet. That definitely is, how we see it.
Yeah, and for me personally, the verse itself, God makes everything beautiful in its time. It's literally a daily reminder because I truly believe that as human beings, naturally, we want to do everything ourselves. We start to, in our minds, we're like, oh, this is what God wants, right? Or like, and then when it doesn't happen, I'm now blaming God, right? I'm now like, well, I thought you told me I would, get this during this time. And then so just a constant reminder where it's like, it clearly wasn't His timing for whatever it is that I was expecting. So the verse itself, I mean, it's a constant reminder for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if I think about your story, that is what kept you going, right? I mean, literally, He's gonna make everything beautiful in its time.
You put a little emphasis. You put a little sauce on that. Put a little sauce in your putting on there, but
in his time, you know what I'm saying? Because clearly it wasn't in Charles' time. But I remember this. Somebody said, I don't even remember where I heard it from, but it rings true to your story. The longer the delay, the sweeter the deliverance, okay? So we gonna drop that in as part of your story. The longer the delay, the sweeter the deliverance. So tell us, how has your story inspired you? What did it inspire you to do? Or how has it inspired you to live in now a married, as a married couple?
Yes. It takes discipline, and I know that we fail at it at times, but it really has challenged us to wait and to also realize like a part of our connection or our story those 5 years is we were both at different points waiting or trusting the God in the other person. What I mean by that is like, God can be working on me, but unless it aligns with God working on you, like God can be working on that hiring manager, God can be working on this over here, right? Like the doctor, etc. But those two have to align for it to actually come to fruition in the way that it's supposed to. And so I think that daily we have to challenge ourselves to remember those moments as we were waiting on each other, as now together as a union, we're consistently waiting on God for a myriad of things, right? Trusting that He is working not only in our hearts right now to prepare, but also He's working on the hearts of the people that we have to wait. Like even right now, as we're doing this with you, like this is like the last vestiges of our apartment. Like we're literally moving this week, right? And so a part of that is just another aspect of the faith journey of like in its time. Like we don't have what we want, where we want to live right now, but it will happen in its time. And then also I think we both talk about this is for things that seem like God hasn't answered yet. Like there were a lot of moments that we didn't even share that happened where it was like, God, like I have a book behind me that says God winks at you. Like they're like God winks, and like he will wink at you in many different ways. And so a lot of our story is a lot of winks. And so being able to reflect on that and to remember that in the tough times of things that we're waiting for right now. So I don't know if there's anything you would add to it.
Love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for being willing and open to share your story, being so honest and transparent, even with all the heat radiating towards Charles. No. I mean, listen, it's nothing but love. And it just literally shows how God can work in your life if you just let him. If you just allow him to. God winks. Thank you for that blessing. Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to send you backstage, but thank you so much for sharing your story. We will see you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, guys. Man, that was so good. That was so good. Listen, we gotta cut my man Charles some slack, okay? He did it though. He came through. You see what I'm saying? God came through for Charles in that story. Yes, God winks, Derek. Such a beautiful reminder that even in the midst of the waiting, God is always there walking alongside us. We are never alone, and may we never think that we are. Anyway, guys, as always, I just want to thank them for sharing. I want to remind you that next week for Mother's Day, we are having a What's Your Story, but it will not be live. However, I do want to invite you to still come and be a part because we are going to be active in the chat. Everything is going to appear the same. It just will be pre-recorded because this mama is going to take a break. And I want you to know that next week we are going to be talking to Kayla Sanchez. For those of you who know, she is the owner of Cozy Sila, an international business, and that was inspired as a result of her journey in motherhood with her daughter who has a heart defect. And so, guys, you don't want to miss it. It is just such an inspiring story. And I am so excited for you to sit down with her and have her share it. So I want to remind you about that. Also, never forget to just go ahead and share, like, and subscribe. That's how you can continue to support this show. And absolutely, that was fun. Charles was the truth, very authentic and brave. Yes, he was. And Noemi was super patient. Listen, that was Jesus, right? God was working through Noemi to show Charles a little, he needed to put a little pep in his step. But no, you deserve it. Yes, absolutely. Showing some love to you guys. But as always, go ahead and share, like, and subscribe. And I just want to remind you that your purpose is found in knowing, owning, and sharing your story. So the question is, are you ready to share your story? See you next week.